Hey, it's Tarrmu, and welcome to Thinking Out Loud, and today's video is a bit of a different one, and I'll probably need to update this come June, because I feel like it'll probably more than likely age like milk, but it is games that have been announced for this year that I'm looking forward to. So these games, they are ones that at least have a 2024 like slated release, even if they don't have an official release date, and they're just some of the games that from memory are releasing that I'm keen for one reason or another, which we'll get into. The first game on this list actually that I'm looking forward to is right around the corner, and that is Hellblade 2. I'm looking forward to sitting down and playing the first and second game back to back around the release window. Hellblade is one of these games I've seen so many things about, and I'm really eager to try and play, and Hellblade 2 looks like it really is just upping the ante of what made the first one so good. And I've been a fan of Ninja Theory in general as a studio, so I'm kind of keen to get up to speed on what they've been doing here with the Hellblade games, as I've heard nothing but praise for the first one, and I'm imagining the second one will follow suit. The next one for me is a wait and see kind of game, but I kind of have a little bit of a Stockholm syndrome with this game, so I will end up probably going back and playing it at some point, and that is the long-awaited conclusion to this 10-year saga that is Destiny 2: The Final Shape. So I guess the latest reveals for The Final Shape have piqued the interest of many, myself included. They've introduced a new race of enemies after like 10 years, which is kind of sad, but they've also released this new subclass called the Prismatic subclass, which is like a combination of many of the subclasses that exist, the three primary ones, and there's this statement that feels very true right now, which is back against the wall, Bungie is the best Bungie. And it feels like after the shocking release of Lightfall that really didn't stick with many, and whilst I could find some positives as someone returning to the game after a while, the overall experience of Lightfall and its story really did leave like much to be desired. And the Strand subclass was fun, but it wasn't enough to save the experience, and the sequential stories have still kind of left a dash on the overall experience of Destiny 2 since Lightfall's release. I'm keen to see where the Final Shape kind of ends up and how it ends up wrapping up this story. Granted, I haven't really been following it super closely recently, and I do need to go back and play a lot of the seasonal content and just get up to speed, maybe watch another 4-hour lore video just to get up to date on what's going on. But overall, I'm really keen to just see this new subclass, the new enemies, and how Bungie managed to wrap up this story. I guess they do end up cooking with this. I do believe they can do a good final hurrah for this Light and Dark saga, and then we can move forward into the episodes and in the not so far hopefully future Destiny 3 and beyond. The conclusion for the Final Shape is one I'm keen for, and yeah, I'm hoping they can actually stick the landing. Next up is probably everyone's most anticipated game / DLC at the moment, and that is Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. And man, this is supposed to be the largest expansion from Software that they've ever released, and to me, that is insane. I mean, the base game for Elden Ring is so vast and full of discoveries, not to mention the multitude of different endings that game contained, as well as the different types of builds you could craft, enemies you could face. I am beyond fascinated to see what they do here to further evolve the lands between and the different enemies and ways of traversal that'll be introduced in the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. From memory, the Souls experience and the Dark Souls games, Bloodborne, and they've all received great expansions that have further evolved the boss complexity and challenge that many seek when playing these games, and included stunning vistas and stories. So I'm keen to see where they go from here with Elden Ring. The next one, personally, for me, is my most anticipated game that has been announced for 2024, and that is Metaphor ReFantasio, which is the latest from the minds behind the Persona series and carries over some of the similar mechanics found in Persona and SMT, but is more focused around a fantasy universe, and from what we've seen, doesn't look to have and contain that same compendium of demons, personas, or whatever you want to call it, from the broader Megami Tensei franchise. These monsters look to be very different, and the game game here in general looks to be taking a lot more of an open world approach, and even the way combat is structured here, it has a mixture and a blend of like action-based combat before leading into a turn-based battle. I think it's pretty interesting, and I'm excited to see how this goes. Overall, the story as well, this fight to become the ruler of a kingdom and winning over the trust of people, that takes this form of the confidants and bonds that you form in like Persona, but taking a whole different lens here. And from what I've seen in the trailer, it kind of does look like we'll have a voice protagonist, and overall looks like a incredible game, and it looks to have a lot of potential to really be a third pillar in Atlus's arsenal. They've got SMT, Persona, and now even this new game, this new IP, Metaphor. Last but not least with this game, I'd like to say, dude, the menus, have you seen them? They are incredible. If you thought the menus in Persona 3 Reload or Persona 5 were incredible, check out the menus in Metaphor ReFantasio. They're on a whole nother level. It is absolutely insane, and I am more than excited to see where this game goes, because right now, might be a controversial opinion, but I think my game of the year personally is probably FF7 Rebirth, but I think this game has a ton of potential to really dethrone that for me, but only time will tell. Next up is Black Myth Wukong, which is one I remember seeing the trailer for years ago, and the continuous updates have done nothing but excite me further. And from what we'll see later this year, I am more than keen to get my hands on this game. I'm really loving the art style, the overall influence of Chinese mythology that has been put into this game, and the story that it pulls from. There are some enemies in this trailer that absolutely look sinister, and some of the vistas look absolutely incredible. Honestly, this game looks like the one game on this list I feel like that has the potential to really steal the show and surprise us. I wouldn't be surprised if this game ends up being one on many people's game of the year list. I think that a lot of us, whilst we are excited for Black Myth, are still pretty, how do I put it, underestimating its potential. I think this game has the power to really go the distance, and I think if executed properly, it will be one of those games that we really do remember and appears on many people's game of the year list. I think this one does look incredible. I watched the trailer again recently and I was like, damn, look at those different like locales, those vistas, and even the combat itself kind of looks interesting. And I'm very, there's different forms you can also transform into as well. I was seeing a few clips around that and I'm like, oh, I'm keen to see how this all clicks into place and works. But as of right now, I'm keen to see where it goes. And I think if it sticks to the landing, yeah, it does have the potential to surprise us more than any game on this list. Next up should be a surprise to nobody. It's the highly anticipated Avowed from Obsidian Entertainment. Now, I've been waiting to hear more about this game for a while, and when we got to look at it at last year's Summer Game Fest, I was actually one of those people that was like, damn, this looks pretty cool. I like the more vibrant fantasy aesthetic. I know that it's very different from the kind of more darker tone that teaser trailer had many years ago, but I do kind of appreciate and like this vibe that it's going for. It felt a little bit more fantastical and whimsical in the nature, kind of like Fable a bit, but I think I like that and I really appreciate it. And overall, the one thing that I'm really excited for with Avowed is to see how Obsidian doubled down on the mechanics and writing that made their games so incredible. I looked at games that I've really enjoyed, like The Outer Worlds, for example, but a fantasy spin. And in many ways, I'm really keen to just see how they double down on things like choice and also their writing and storytelling, because those are areas that I feel like Obsidian really does excel at. And if they can really provide flexible choices here with a lot of meaningful outcomes and different types of ways to customize your characters and have meaningful builds, I think this will be a game that does bring a lot of enjoyment. I know that a lot of people now look back on The Outer Worlds and they're not the biggest fans of that game, but I think that game really did offer a lot. And I think that if Avowed, whilst it isn't as large as many other games in its landmass or size, but delivers a story that's entertaining and provides a lot of flexibility in how you can approach situations, I think it'll be one that many will enjoy. And I'm looking forward to seeing this, and right now we don't have an official release date, but I reckon we'll be getting that at Xbox's showcase next month. And I reckon if my money would be on it coming out later this year, it'll be that show that and that game that really does get us over into the Christmas period and that long RPG that we'll be playing. The last game on this list that I'd like to talk about in mention is Stalker 2. I'm a big fan of dystopian stories, and as a fan of the Metro series and having recently read the book that inspired Stalker, I'm waiting to dive into the series and experience all the fun that everyone has been having with this for a good while now. Stalker 2 is looking to be a promising and fun title, and after being delayed multiple times due to world events and happenings around the world, it'll be great to see the studio GSC Game World release their highly anticipated sequel to the Stalker series, because there's been a few games, I've heard so many people talking about it for a while, being like, man, you should play Stalker, you like Fallout, you like all that type of stuff, you like Metro, and I'm like, yeah, I need to get onto that. So this year I might be able to dip my feet in with Stalker 2, and if I have time, maybe even go back and play the older games before getting into the new release, and I'm hoping to do that. But yeah, I'm really excited for this game, and it's looking really promising. But those are just some games that come to mind, and that I'm personally looking forward to. There may be some there that I've missed, so let me know if I have, and if there's any games that you are checking out that you're excited for, and which game on this list are you most keen for? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm always looking for new games to play, and yeah, if there's anything that I've missed here, I'd love to add that to the list. But anyway, this has been Thinking Out Loud, and thank you for watching.